Hello and welcome to the 43rd lecture on the history of modern India, the Khalistan movement. In our last lecture, we discussed the movement in Assam for greater autonomy. At the same time, there was a still more serious agitation for greater autonomy in the state of Punjab. More serious because Punjab bordered Pakistan, a country with which India had fought 3 wars. Besides, the majority community of the state were not Hindus but Sikhs. To the primordial attachments of language and region was thus added the potentially deadly element of religion. Let us first discuss the beginning of the movement. A section of the Sikh intelligentsia hoped for the renewal in some shape or form of the Sikh state ruled by Maharaja Ranjit Singh in the first half of the 19th century. Others looked only as far back as partition and the tragedies and losses suffered by the community then. It had taken 20 years of almost ceaseless struggle to compel New Delhi to constitute a Sikh majority province within India. In October 1973, the Working Committee of the Akali Dal passed the Anandpur Sahib Resolution. This asked the Government of India to hand over Chandigarh to Punjab, to also hand over Punjabi-speaking areas then within other states, and to increase the proportions of Sikhs in the army. Asking for a recasting of the Indian constitution on real federal principles. By one reading, the Anandpur Sahib resolution merely sought to make real the promise of states' autonomy hinted by the constitution. But the resolution was also amenable to more dangerous interpretations. The preamble spoke of the Akali Dal as the very embodiment of the hopes and aspirations of the Sikh nation. Perhaps 1973 was not the best time to make these demands, with Mrs. Indira Gandhi riding high on the wave of war recently won and the centre more powerful than ever before. Its powers were increased still further with the emergency, when thousands of Akalis were put in jail. But in 1977, the emergency was lifted, elections called, and the Congress party comprehensively trounced. With the Akalis now in power in the Punjab, the demands of Anandpur Sahib resolution were revived, and new ones were added. Among the losses at partition were two of the 5 rivers that gave the state its name. If that was not bad enough, the Indian Punjab had to share the remaining 3 with the states of Haryana and Rajasthan. The Akalis claimed a greater share of these waters. To this economic demand was coupled a cultural one. The designation of Amritsar, home to the holiest Sikh shrine, the Golden Temple, as a holy city. In April 1978, there was a mass convention at Amritsar of a religious sect Nirankaris. The Nirankaris thought of themselves as Sikhs, but since they believed in a living guru, were regarded as heretics by the faithful. With the Akalis in power, some priests professed shame that the holy city was being profaned by the Nirankaris. Leading the opposition to Nirankaris meeting was a hitherto obscure preacher named Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. Born into a family of Jat Sikhs, Bhindranwale had left his wife and children to become head of a seminary called the Damdami Taskal. He claimed that Sikhs were slaves in independent India, discriminated against by the Hindus. Bhindranwale wanted the Sikhs to purify themselves and return to the fundamentals of their faith. He spoke scathingly of the corrupt and effete Hindu, but mocked even more the modernized Sikhs. He, who had so far forgotten himself as to cut his hair and consume tobacco and alcohol. By some accounts, Bhindranwale was built up by the Sanjay Gandhi and the Union Home Minister Zail Singh as counter to Akalis. To him were attracted many Jats of a peasant background who had seen the gains of Green Revolution being cornered by the large landowners. Other followers came from the lower Sikh castes of artisans and laborers. They saw in the process of purification their own social advancement. Bhindranwale was also benefited from the general increase of religiosity. While the Nirankari Convention was in progress at Amritsar in April 1978, Bhindranwale preached an angry sermon from the precincts of Golden Temple. Moved by his words, a crowd of Sikhs descended upon the place where the heretics were meeting. The Nirankaris fought back. In the battle that ensued, 15 people died. Sikh pride took another blow in 1980 when the Akalis were dismissed and Congress returned to power in the Punjab. In June of that year, a group of students met at the Golden Temple and proclaimed the formation of an independent Sikh republic. The republic had a name, Khalistan, and a president, a Sikh politician based in London named Javjit Singh Chauhan. Primarily, it was Sikh immigrants who were behind this move. The pronouncement was made simultaneously in the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and France. This can be termed as the beginning of Khalistan movement. Let us now discuss the following years involving agitations, assassinations, and negotiations. The government in Delhi was not unduly worried by these elements at the fringe. Its attention was focused on Akalis, who, out of power, had chosen the path of confrontation. Their new leader, Sant Harcharan Singh Longowal, lodged himself in the Golden Temple, from where he would announce street protests on a variety of themes, such as the handing over of Chandigarh or the greater allocation of canal water. Bhindranwale was operating from another part of the temple. He had acquired a group of devoted gun-toting followers who acted as his acolytes and bodyguards, and on occasion as willing and unpaid killers. Through the early 1980s, the politics of agitation coexisted uneasily with the politics of assassination. In April 1980, the Nirankari leader Baba Gurcharan Singh was shot dead in New Delhi. It was widely believed that Bhindranwale was behind the killing, but no action was taken. Then, in September 1981, came the murder of Lala Jagat Narayan, an influential editor who had polemicized vigorously against Sikh extremism. The police went to pick Bhindranwale up from a Gurudwara in Haryana, but by the time they arrived, Bhindranwale had returned to the safety of his own seminary in Punjab. The Chief Minister, Darbar Singh, was all for pursuing him there, but he was dissuaded by the Union Home Minister Zail Singh, who was worried about the political fallout that might result. Bhindranwale then sent word that he was willing to turn himself in, but at the time of his choosing, and only so long as the arresting officers were Sikhs wearing beards. Amazingly, the Punjab government agreed to these humiliating terms. 2 weeks after the murder, the preacher gave himself up outside his seminary, even as a crowd of supporters chanted slogans and threw stones at the police. At several other places in the state, his followers attacked state property, provoking the police to fire on them. According to one report, a dozen people died in the violence surrounding Bhindranwale's arrest. 3 weeks later, he was released for lack of evidence. Two chroniclers of Punjab agitation write that Bhindranwale's release was the turning point in his career. He was now seen as a hero who had challenged and defeated the Indian government. The drama of his arrest had transformed Bhindranwale from a murder suspect into a new political force. Throughout 1982, there were many rounds of negotiations between the centre and the Akalis. No agreement was reached, the sticking point being the areas Punjab would give to Haryana in exchange for the Chandigarh and sharing of river waters. On 26 January 1983, that is, on Republic Day, the Akali legislators in the State Assembly resigned. The timing of their action suggested perhaps an uncertain commitment to the Indian Constitution. The challenge of Bhindranwale was forcing Akalis to become more extreme. The Akalis were now prone to comparing Congress rule to the bad old days of the Mughals. They began organizing Shahid Jathas to fight the new tormentors of Sikhs. Let us now look at the more violent turns in the movement. On 22nd April 1983, a high-ranking Sikh policeman, A.S. Atwal, was killed as he left the Golden Temple after prayers. The man who shot him at close range coolly walked in afterwards. Atwal's murder further demoralized the Punjab police, itself overwhelmingly Sikh. A spate of bank robberies followed. Sections of the Hindu minority began fleeing the state. Those who remained organized themselves under a Hindu Suraksha Sangh. Centuries of peaceable relations between Hindus and Sikhs were collapsing under the strain. In interviews, Bhindranwale described the Sikhs as a separate Qawm, a word that is sometimes taken to mean community, but which can just as easily be translated as nation. He had not asked for Khalistan, he said, but were it offered to him, he would not refuse. The Prime Minister of India he mocked as a Panditan, that is, daughter of Brahmin, a remark redolent with the contempt that the Jat Sikh has for those who work with their minds rather than their hands. Asked whether he would meet Mrs. Gandhi, he answered, "No, I don't want to. But if she wants to meet me, she can come here." To his followers, Bhindranwale could be even more blunt. He told them once, "If the Hindus come in search of you, smash their hands with television antennas." He reminded them of the heroic history of Sikhs. When the Mughals had tried to destroy the Gurus, their fathers had fought them with 46 against 100,000 assailants. They could do the same now with their new oppressors. There was also a contemporary model at hand, that of Israel. If the few Jews could keep the more numerous Arabs at the bay, then the Sikhs could and must do the same with the Hindus. On 5th October 1983, terrorists stopped a bus on the highway, segregated the Hindu passengers, and shot them. The next day, President's rule was imposed in the state. In the last weeks of 1983, Bhindranwale took up residence in the Akal Takht, a building second in the importance only to the Golden Temple. Akal Takht had historically served as the seat of temporal authority. It was from the Akal Takht that the great Gurus issued their hukumnamas, edicts that all Sikhs were obliged to follow and honor. It was here that Sikh warriors came to receive blessings before launching their guerrilla campaign against their medieval oppressors. That Bhindranwale chose now to move into the Akal Takht and that no one had the courage to stop him, were acts steeped in the most dangerous, profound symbolism. The movement finally had to be concluded by the military action. In our next video, we will discuss the Operation Blue Star, ending the Khalistan movement. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and comment because discussion is solution. For more discussions, please subscribe our channel.